Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Eh, s- eh, Selamat malam Bapak Ibu semua. Terima kasih banyak sudah meluangkan waktunya untuk hadir dan berdiskusi malam ini dengan Makna QM. Kembali dengan MQM Insight ke-17, nggak kerasa udah episode ke-17 ini. Malam ini terima kasih banyak sekali lagi buat rekan-rekan semua. Namun juga tidak kalah spesialnya, alhamdulillah malam ini kita kedatangan tamu spesial juga dari jauh-jauh dari Eropa, which is Mr. Szymon Pawłowski. Nanti saya akan introduce beliau lebih proper lagi. Jadi malam ini kita akan bicara tentang P3M3 lagi. Dan oleh karena itu, jadi malam ini kita akan deliver webinarnya di dalam menggunakan bahasa Inggris. Okay, so from now on, I'm gonna start using English. Thank you very much again for everybody to spend your time in here to discuss these important topics regarding how we can improve our practice of project management within our organizations. Okay, so before we start, let me do a bit of clear house. So first of all, my name is Akbar Azwel. I'm a director at Magna QM, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's session. So before we begin, let me do a quick round of housekeeping. First of all, please make sure your microphone is muted during the session. Okay. And later on, if you have questions along the way, feel free to type. I will give you the link to Slido. So feel free to type your questions into the Slido page, and we will address your questions after Shimon's presentation, and then during the Q&A session, we will address your questions later on. Okay. So a bit about Magna QM. So Magna QM is a boutique consultant in project management, change management, and also PMO. We are an ATP partner, PMI authorized training partner. We are also an ACMP qualified education provider. And we are also proudly a PeopleCert accredited consulting partner in Indonesia. So our services are we perform consulting, advisory, and training for project and program management, strategic project portfolio management, PMO, and also organizational change management. We have supported many organizations in Indonesia. We also supported Pegadaian and PLN during the competitions in PMO global competition as well. So we will share these slides later on to you as a PDF on the chat box. We have some public training calendars for Q3 and Q4 in 2026. Maybe some of the topics would be relevant for you and your needs. So later on during the sessions, we can do. There's going to be a Q&A session. So this is the link for the Slido page or the Q&A for the Q&A. We will also going to share this link on the chat box as well. After the session, we will be appreciated if you can share your review on Google Review. We'll share the link on this one as well. Lastly, we would like to connect with you and have a further discussions with you. So please do join our WhatsApp group community. We have our own Magna QM Connect community where we share a lot of things in that community. Where we don't this is the first where if we have something valuable to share, usually we will share to this community first before we share it to the public. Okay, so that's a bit about housekeeping about MQM. So let us let me introduce you guys to our speaker for tonight. Thank you very much. We have Shimon Pawłowski. He's the Prince2 product architect at PeopleCert. At PeopleCert, he's responsible for the continual development of the global Prince2 brand portfolio, covering project, program, and portfolio PMO risk management, as well as the P3M3 maturity model. This is an exciting time as well for Prince2 because it's a bit of right now it's rebranding all the portfolio products into a Prince2, right? So if you have questions regarding the Prince2 products, he's the he's the man you wanna ask. So he's also a co-author, a global co-author, contribute to Prince2 Project Management version 7, and then a Prince2 Agile version 2. He's also the P3M3 validator, which is his main roles including validating certified P3M3 maturity assessment. And he has more than 50 years experience, practice as a consultant, accredited trainer, and project manager implementing solutions in the areas of project, program, portfolio risk management, and then PMOs across private and public sectors. Okay, so without further ado, I'll give the stage to Shimon. Shimon, thank you very much, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I think I need to amend my bio because now it's more. I think more than 15 plus years. It's over 20. So
over 20. Cool.
Time flies, right? So let's start presentation. So welcome everyone. I'm very happy that I could join you today and talk about PRINCE2 P3M3 and maturity. And broadly about maturity assessments, organizational capability, maturity, and so on. So we will talk about P3M3 maturity model and how it helps organizations improve portfolio, program, project management maturity. So the title is Measure, Improve, Perform. And the content is also structured around these three elements because first we need to measure, then only measurement is not enough. Okay, we know where we are, but we want to do something with the current practices, with our status quo. So we need to improve them, but also improving our maturity, improving our processes, our standards, and so on is not enough because finally we want to perform better, we want to achieve better, greater value, we want to have better results. So measure, improve, perform, unlocking organizational value with PRINCE2 P3M3 is the title of our session and the main story also of this webinar. Okay, let's go to again agenda. So agenda emphasizes these 3 points. So we'll start with how to measure. In this section, I will explain what the maturity, organizational maturity is, especially in project, program, and portfolio management area. Then what our model, what PRINCE2 P3M3, our maturity model is, what is its structure, what are the key characteristics, how this model differs from other models that are existing. Then we move to improve. So what we can do, what are the results of the assessment and how to plan for improvements, and then perform. In this section, I will focus on what is the real ultimate goal of our efforts to increase our maturity, to improve our maturity, because improvement is not our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to have better results, greater value, greater productivity, better efficiency, and so on. And then we will move to questions and answers. So I think about an hour, maybe a bit more for presentation, then we'll have some time for Q&A. Okay, so let's begin with measure. As I said, we'll talk about what happens before we can improve. So before we can improve, we need to understand our current level of capability. So this is where maturity assessment starts to become useful, because we start to understand what are our gaps in performance, gaps in processes. We have a clear picture of how we manage change through portfolios, projects, and programs. So we will talk about maturity itself, why it's important to become more mature, and about P3M3 maturity model. So what is maturity? Probably it's not very surprising for you that we start our knowledge journey today with defining what this maturity is. Organizational maturity is about the ability to deliver in a predictable way. It means the organization is not only able to deliver one successful project, for example, but it means that it can deliver well again and again in a repeatable way. More mature organizations are less dependent on individuals. They use more consistent ways of working. They have clearer, well-defined roles and responsibilities and accountability for these roles. They use processes, data, and knowledge more effectively than organizations that are less mature. And what is the most important, they improve based on experience, their own experience, and use learning to embed improved capability across the organization for the long term. So on the other hand, we still have, and this is also my perspective. I still see many organizations that are really not very mature. They still can succeed, but only when they have very strong individuals. We call it sometimes heroic project management. And so these are organizations. I worked for such organizations. They are organizations that rely on heroism of people. Success depends on how much employees dedicate themselves, often their time after working hour, and sometimes even their health, to achieve the goals of organization that the goals that organization has set for them. And I've had that experience too. Many years ago, my boss once called me a hero after I successfully delivered a project. But after some reflection, I thought a lot about this. I came back to him and told him that it would be the last time, because I simply prefer to be a hero for my kids, for my wife, for my family, and not for the company. Because it when I need to be hero all the time, I will have burnout. I will quit this organization. Organization cannot require from me to be hero all the time. Sometimes it's needed, right? But we cannot dedicate our health to organization's success, right? So relying on heroes creates a big risk for organizations, because what happens when such people leave organizations? What happens when, for example, new portfolio or program manager arrives with totally different approach? What happens when every project manager works in a different way? This is the landscape of low mature organizations. Everybody is able to deliver something, but they do this in very different ways, not aligned, and so on. So much organization that has to such organization, low mature organization, has to keep adapting to different personal styles, different ways of working, and so on. And improving maturity helps reduce this dependency on people, on individuals. So this is the key thing here. But the most important element is that uh, is that maturity improves performance. Maturity does matter because it supports better performance. So as you can see from the data in this chart, higher maturity is very closely linked to better results and performance. And this data isn't very recent, but it comes from probably the largest research in the PPM industry that clearly demonstrated the relationship between maturity and performance of organization. But believe me, even if this is the report from 2018, and this close relationship is still a case nowadays. Maturity helps organizations deliver more predictably. It improves budget and schedule control significantly. For example, almost 2 times more projects completed on time in higher maturity organizations compared to lower maturity organizations. It supports also better compliance, better improves customer satisfaction, strengthens governance, prioritization. It reduces risks, improves benefit realization. And it's all because going up the maturity ladder means we move from individual effort to organizational capability. This is the key here. Instead of relying mainly on people who manage and deliver portfolios, programs, projects, organization becomes more reliant on the way it delivers projects. So not the people. People are still important, of course, but the most important is maturity is more reliance on the way, the approach we have, the processes, standards we have, and how we manage projects, programs, portfolio. So, and this provides the organization with a chance to continually, consistently improve instead of just moving in one direction and then to in another direction, which causes frustration amongst practitioners and such things. So, for example, let's think about two project managers in one organization, both very good and both very successful, but people that come from different backgrounds. For example, one has a very strong PMI background, strong PMI knowledge. The other uses different approaches, agile or PRINCE2 or any other. Both are very good and successful, but they use different documentation set. They use different metrics, different reporting programs. They use different language, different techniques, and so on. So the organization, management of the organization, sponsors would have to understand and adapt to these different ways of working, which makes it very very difficult to effectively manage such collection of projects, programs that use very different ways of working. So another example, let's think about portfolio manager that sets up and manages the portfolio of projects in a very certain way, and then this person is replaced by another portfolio manager who believes in a different approach, requires different metrics and reporting, and the project management framework is completely disregarded. And everybody, especially project managers, become frustrated with this change. So this is, again, this reliance on individuals and not on the processes, standards, improved ways of working, and so on. But of course, this does not mean people become less important. People are always important. It means maturity means that people are supported by clear processes, better information, useful tools, and shared ways of working. And it also helps them to continually improve. People can continually improve because they have some set standard. They know that they will not move to another way of working, another process, another method, and so on. The organization does not keep changing the direction every time a new manager arrives. It can build on what already works. So the key message here is that higher maturity creates stronger foundation for performance because of having established processes, standards, tools, techniques that are reused, and they support continuous improvement and also support learning and knowledge sharing from one project to another, from one program to another, and so on. Let's see now how this maturity journey may look like, how to broadly recognize where we are and what are the consequences for an organization. So before we move to P3M3 model, let's take a look at levels. So generally, most of these the existing maturity models follow a structure of 5 maturity levels, and these levels are defined in a very similar way generally, although the names or labels of these levels, like we have awareness here for level 1, some other approaches call level 1 ad hoc or initial, but it doesn't matter how we label or name it, but what the level is. So at level 1, which is at level 1, okay, let's have an example. So let's imagine that we have an organization that is growing very fast. It started small, people knew each other, everyone could solve problems by just walking across the office and or sending a quick message. So at the beginning, where organization is small, was small, this worked quite well. They had some strong individuals, strong project managers. They had energy, and when something went wrong, they just found a way to fix it. But as the organization grew, some cracks started to appear, some issues started to occur, and so on. So different teams, for example, used there are now more teams, right? And different teams use different approaches, different templates, different documentation and metrics. Some projects had good plans, other didn't. So this is the landscape of level 1. Some people are aware of management practices, but this is not something that is used commonly. So whatever one person knows, they can use this. They base on their individual strengths, not the organizational approach. So such organization at level 1 can still be successful, but success depends on a lot on specific individuals. So if we have right person in place, things just got done and projects are successful. But if such person leaves organization, everything becomes harder. So this is level 1. Organization is active, is delivering, but it's not yet delivering in consistent or repeatable way. Level 2 is where the organization starts to move from this heroic effort to some kind of repeatable practice. But the foundations are still unstable. So now our example organization realizes something important. For example, it wants to compete in a bigger market. It wants to win larger clients. It wants to deliver more projects at the same time. So organization grew and they wanted to do better things, more things, and so on. But for such circumstances, the old ways of working, so relying on individual competence and relying on isolated practices is not enough. So these people start to talk to each other, to exchange opinions. They start to somehow establish some common language, some basic management practices are introduced. Uh, some standard reports are created, budgets are tracked more regularly, executives start asking better questions based on better information. So this is progress from level 1 to level 2. So people can now repeat success in similar situation, but there is still a problem, and the problem is that these practices are not yet used everywhere. One department may be very well organized with good practices, but at the same time, the other part of organization may still do not have any best practice approach to follow. And so the organization is improving, but it is still uneven. in some parts of organization it is better, in some parts it's not. There are some projects that use best practice, that are projects that are just managed uh, uh, using firefight and not the proper management. So it's this situation level 2 is like building a road while already driving on it. It's useful, but it can be a bit bumpy. The key message here is that for level 2, at repeatable level, organization starts to build this repeatability, but consistency is still not something that is achieved. Level 3 is where we start to achieve this consistency. At some point, let's come back to our example organization. This organization understands that it needs common ways of working across the whole organization. Not because it wants more paperwork, more bureaucracy, more documentation, but because it wants less confusion and less misalignment. So it starts to define standard processes. It agrees common terminology and set this as a standard across the whole organization. It clarifies roles and responsibilities, define techniques, metrics, they will use, and so they have their own project management method when we talk about project management, or program management when we talk about programs. But typically it's that we start with project management maturity, then we move to program or portfolio. So project teams now in these organizations, project teams now know what is expected of them. Leaders know what information they should receive. New employees can learn the organization's ways of working and delivering more quickly. So because we have defined project management approach method, and we can share this with new employees, and they can easily learn how we manage projects in this organization. But on the other hand, what is more also very much important, because some people think that if we have standard project management method for all the organization, it needs to be used in the same way for all projects. No, standardization makes tailoring also easier, because when we have some standard approach, we can also define what we can tailor. For example, how we can tailor our standard approach for projects that are, for example, less costly, that are smaller in size, in resources, and so on. The key thing is that defined process does not mean that this is defined and everybody needs to follow the same process at the same level of formality. Typically, organizations establish some tailoring rules for their methods at this level also. So that the organization does not need to use the same heavy process for every project. The framework is shared, but there are some rules for adaptation of this approach. And this level 3, is where maturity starts to feel very useful, because people see the benefits, obvious benefits from the maturity. So, for example, leaders, managers, they see data and information from project that is comparable. So they can compare performance of one project against performance of another project. They as I said, project managers, it's easier for them to move from one project to the other project, to replace project manager that, for example, goes for maternity leave or something like this, or just leaves the organization, because the process is the standards, the approach, techniques, tools, processes, behaviors, everything is established. So it's easier to it's easier to use the same processes. Level 4, when organization has common practices in place, typically there is an appetite for more. So leaders want to know something more. So they want to know whether these practices, what we have, are actually working. So we start using data more seriously. We start tracking performance. We start compare our estimates with actual results. We look at resource capacity and resource usage. We monitor risk issues, delivery trends, and so on. And this changes the whole conversation. And this brings level 4 maturity, because instead of saying, I think this project is fine, teams can say, here is what the data shows. We are good at this, but we have problems in this area. Leaders can make better decisions because they have better information. They can see problem areas. They can adjust priorities. They can understand where performance is improving and where more support is needed. Where are the gaps in our performance, and what should be improved. This is level 4. We not only manage our projects in a similar way, but we also manage our performance. We see what are the results, and we know what to do to improve. Level 5 is when this our example organization reaches a point where improvement is no longer something special. It becomes part of everyday work. Teams regularly, in such organization, teams regularly ask, what did we learn? What should we improve? What should we stop doing? What should we do differently next time? Leaders also look ahead. They think about future capacity, future capability, new markets, new risks. Such organization does not wait for problems to become painful, but it uses lessons, data, and feedback to improve continuously. So level 5 is achieved when we improve continuously based on data, trends, benchmarking, and so on. But okay, so this was the journey across maturity. But I need to tell you one more thing that is very, very important. This is not that we all should achieve level 5 maturity, because it is costly, because it requires effort. So for some organizations, especially that such organizations that don't rely on projects very much, level 3 maturity can be enough, or sometimes even level 2. But for organizations, for example, in construction industry, when capital investments are the key thing that organization does, or IT organization that delivers projects for their clients. In such organization, we should try to achieve at least level 4 maturity, or think about level 5, or be somehow in between level 4 and level 5. So uh, so in maturity assessment, it is also very, very much important to know where we want to go. Where do we want to go? Okay. So now that we have discussed maturity, let's look at PRINCE2 P3M3. So P3M3 starts for portfolio, program, and project management maturity model. And this model was generally known as P3M3 without this PRINCE2 brand, but I will explain why we have this brand now. So generally, this model helps organizations benchmark how well they manage business change through projects, programs, portfolios, and how well they deliver value out of these projects, programs, and portfolios. What is most important here is that this maturity model is method agnostic. It has this PRINCE2 in its name, but it was always it was created with this caveat that it should be possible to use it even if we use totally different approach. So there are some elements of philosophy that is close to PRINCE2 philosophy, like managing by exception and so on. But this is general project management best practice. So this is method agnostic. You don't need to use Prince2 to use this for projects or programs or portfolios to use this maturity model. You can use PMI standards, you can use APM, whatever you prefer. You can use even some agile approaches, but P3M3 will still be relevant to measure your maturity. Okay. Another thing is this model is not about process maturity, because sometimes when talking about maturity model, we talk about process maturity. But P3M3 looks not only at processes, it looks at information that we share, tools we use, practices, people and their behaviors, and so on. So many aspects. I will show you this in more detail soon. So this is not just process maturity model. We don't only assess processes using this model, but all the aspects that together build organizational capability. This slide shows where P3M3 sits within the wider portfolio. So the PRINCE2 portfolio is a collection of guidance of methods for project management and agile version of it for program management, portfolio management. We also have a method for risk management and guidance for PMOs. But P3M3, this maturity model plays different roles. It's not another management method. It's a maturity model. It helps organizations assess how well they do their portfolio program project management, how well these practices are embedded in terms of processes, standards, behaviors, roles, responsibilities, and many different dimensions. So P3M3 helps understand how mature and effective our current management capability is, and also how we can improve this. Because measurement, as I said previously, measurement only is not enough. We need to also use this model to think about what should we improve. Okay. So P3M3 helps organization answer three simple questions. First, where are we now? Where are we now? This means we create a baseline of our current maturity and capability, and we understand what we have currently. Second thing is, how do we compare? This means benchmarking against good practice and where possible against other organizations. So for example, our P3M3 assessment tool provides this opportunity to benchmark against companies from the same industry or sector and similar size. But understanding where we are and who we compare, how we compare to others is nothing if we don't use this understanding to improve. So the third question, the most important, is where and how should we improve? This means identifying our weaknesses, prioritizing our actions, and building improvement roadmap. So these three questions are very, very practical, because they move from just they move the conversation away from just an opinion of what we have, because we have evidence-based information about our current maturity and capability. And instead of saying we think we are good at project management because this and that, the organization can ask, what does the evidence show? Because it is now evidence, and I will show you soon how deep in this assessment elements criteria that this maturity model is. And this is why P3M3 turns assessment results into practical improvement priorities, because it identifies many things that need improvement. It identifies bottlenecks. It supports prioritizing actions. Of course, this is not automated. This is the work of our experienced assessors. So assessors from the companies, ACPs, accredited consulting partners of PeopleCert, that do these assessments because uh, uh, improvement recommendations generated by tool, even if they are supported with some perfect AI, will not be good if they do not consider organizational context. And this is assessment tool provides and P3 assessment model provides the basis for this, but the role of our assessors is to create improvement action, improvement plan or road. Uh, okay, so let's now look at how P3M3 is built. So first of all, there are three sub-models. We separately assess portfolio management, program management, project management. We don't do this for all of them at one time. There are separate assessments. So for example, if you want to have an assessment, you will not the result will not be a score for everything and somehow average. You will have a separate score and separate areas for improvement for portfolio management, for program management, project management. So this is first thing. This is very important because organizations may have different maturity levels in each area. For example, and this is often a case that organizations are quite mature in project management. This is, for example, a very common situation in my country, Poland, where organizations, we are relatively mature in project management, but program management really is not something we are good at. Organizations in Poland, in my country, need very very much some knowledge building in the area of program management. Okay, so this is the first thing. Three submodels. Each of them is treated separately. Then we have 7 perspectives. They apply to each model separately. So we have organizational governance management, control, benefits management, finance management, resource management, risk management, stakeholder management. 7 perspectives. They group together portfolio, program, and project processes, and they are also separately assessed. Uh, However, we based on these perspectives, we receive a maturity score for the whole for the whole model. So based on the results, the maturity scores for perspectives, we can have a score for project management. But again, these perspectives are separately assessed for portfolio management, for program management, for project management, because, for example, benefits management can be quite mature in program management area, but not that mature in project management area. So this is separate. But the real magic happens when we go to threats, and I will show you what threats are with some examples. They are disciplines common to each perspective. So let's imagine risk management in program management area. This we don't just assess this generally. How good are we at in risk management in program in programs? No, we look at threats. So, for example, how good we are at planning, how good we are at roles and responsibilities related to risk management, and so on. I will show you the threats soon. Okay, and all these elements, portfolio, program project management, so submodels, perspectives, and threats are assessed against 5 levels of maturity. And what is more important, The assessment is not that assessor comes and thinks, okay, resource management, threat planning, project management model. Okay, I think it's 5 or I think it's 3. No, we have certification statements and diagnostic attributes that assessor need to look at and see whether they are fulfilled. So there are some mandatory elements. Okay, this is quick repetition of the levels, because I showed you this level when talking about organization's journey across maturity, or climbing up the maturity ladder. So awareness works get work gets completed, but no standard process, no tracking system, and so on. Repeatable, there is some consistency, but limited coordination across projects. There are some isolated areas in the organization where best practices are employed, but some areas of organization can still have nothing in terms of processes or standards for project management, for example. Defined organization-wide standards provide guidance across project program portfolio. So we have standards, we have processes, we have roles and responsibilities. Everything is well defined, and what is more important, not just defined. Level 3 requires that people perform these processes. People use the standards, use the processes in a consistent way. Level 4 is managed, which means that organization uses metrics to predict future outcomes and to start improvements. And level 5 optimized is when continual improvement is done on ongoing basis. It's continual, it's proactive, and so on. Okay, so these are perspectives. I will not read this because you probably all know what is benefits, finance, resource, risk, and stakeholder management. I think we can focus on organizational governance and management control. Organizational governance looks generally at alignment with strategy, and management control looks at how work is directed and controlled throughout the life cycle. These two sometimes, especially when I deliver portfolio management courses, because they have portfolio management, our portfolio management method has similar practices to those perspectives. So we have practice for organizational governance and practice for management control. And people sometimes ask, what is the difference between governance and control, or governance and management control? So governance, organizational governance, is much about how projects are linked to organizational strategy, and how it is ensured that there is still this link. And management control is about directing and controlling individual initiatives across throughout their life cycle. Okay, so perspectives are quite obvious. Let's take a look at P3M3 threats. So this is where the true depth, or as I said, the true magic of P3M3 comes into play, because threads give more detail inside each perspective. They allow us to look at specific perspective from different angles. So as I said, let's imagine we have program management maturity assessment, and currently we look at risk management perspective. So we don't just assess general maturity level for risk management. We may look at how risks are managed from these different angles. So not only whether we have appropriate standards and processes, but also, for example, whether we have proper assurance in place, whether people behave in a proper way, so they understand what risks are, that they are open to talk about risks, and so on. Do we have defined organization? Do we have defined roles and responsibilities for risk management? Do we have planning, risk response planning practices in place? what techniques do we use, how mature they are, do they support processes and standards in a good way or not. This is what we look at. And the key thing with threats is that this also allows for flexibility of the assessment, because only 4 threats are mandatory. Uh, these green threats are mandatory. Information and knowledge management, organization, process, and standards, because uh, they are basis for strong maturity. Without them, you cannot achieve. You don't need to have so sophisticated techniques to achieve some level of maturity, but you need to have processes. You need to have standards. You need to have well-defined roles and responsibilities, structure, hierarchy, accountability, and so on. And you need to have defined information flows and knowledge management things. So these threats are important. There are 3 threats that are very rarely used from my experience, because I see mostly certified assessments. So certified assessments are those that mm, that come to me and I validate them. But typically, organizations don't decide to focus on asset management. It's good threat for organizations that are heavy on assets. Commissioner is applicable only to organizations that, for example, um commission projects or programs from another companies, and generally they are the client. They are the client in their programs and projects, but other organizations really deliver. So this is the threat that is applicable to them. Deliverer is the other way around. We are a supplier. So this is in projects, programs, portfolio. So this is only applicable to supplier organizations. So they are rarely used. And model integration, one more thing, this is applicable only to portfolio and program management, because it talks about integrating between this level, program management, for example, and projects. At portfolio management level, this is about integration of portfolio management with projects and programs, with programs and projects, going from up from the top to the bottom. Okay, so these are threats. So how it looks in practice? Let's take a look at this. So in our assessment model, we have this. These are certification statements. They are attributes that are required, and this is what assessor really assesses when performing this assessment. Because, as I said, assessors do not judge subjectively. Okay, I think it's level 3. No, they need to. When, for example, we have program management model, risk management perspective, across this perspective, within this perspective, across all the threats, we have certification statements for all the levels. So, for example, we think that we are at level 3. So each assessment starts with some general understanding of where we can be in the maturity journey. So, for example, when we start and we think we are at this organization is at level 3, we start with level 3, and the assessor assesses this statement, and it it is assessed whether it is fulfilled fully, partially, or rarely, or never. If it is assessed fully, assessor will move to the level 4 and then assess, because for some threats and for some perspectives, maturity can be higher than 3. So, for example, in this organization, level 4 is also applicable. So organizational leadership invests time and effort on improving the risk management approach. So in such organizations, in such cases, assessors may say, okay, level 3 is fully met, but level 4 is also fully met. It will even go down to level 5 in the assessment tool, and they will judge level 5. Or assessor decides, okay, this is partially partially met. So based on this, what assessor chooses here, the maturity score is calculated across threads and then in within perspectives. But it's not everything, because this certification statement is even further decomposed to diagnostic attributes. They are optional, and they do not influence the maturity score, but they are very good for diagnostic purposes, because after this, the tool can provide us with the report indicating where do we have gaps. So assessor just picks whether it is met or not. So for example, program leaders are consistent in their approach to risk management, yes or no. So if yes, that's okay. If no, program leaders assigned to own risks show commitment to the to the activities required for the mitigation response. So, for example, we see that some of them are not. Assessor then marks that this is not met, and it will be shown in the results, and it can be then addressed as something that needs improvement. So this is how it works. And this shows the depth of the assessment. So for a perspective within a model, we have these certification statements defined for 13 threads at 5 levels, and they are even decomposed further to some diagnostic attributes from 1, 2 to even 8 for some of these certification statements. So this shows how this tool is deep and how it supports very objective judgment. Of course, assessor's judgment is not enough, because assessors typically and they are required to check the evidence of whether this is true or not. Or this is true or not. They need to interview people to see whether they understand their processes and so on, whether they are really followed. Because the assessment itself, it's not just documentation check. It's checking documentation, standards, frameworks, and how they are also applied in real practice. So it also checks live records and so on. And this way we move to the second part, which is improve. So the next thing, when we measured our maturity, the question becomes, what should we do with the results? So we first take a look at some benchmarking insights, then what are the results of the assessment and how to plan for improvements. So very quickly, let's take a look at some benchmarking insights from our PRINCE2 P3M3 report at prince2official.com. This website, you can easily find this report using this address, or just clicking organizations or for organizations, and then P3M3 maturity model, and then going to the bottom of the website and see the downloadable link for this report. So this report is based on more than 100 PRINCE2 P3M3 assessments that were conducted across different countries, different industries between 2001 and 2021 and 2025, sorry. So, and this gives us very useful view of current maturity patterns across sectors, organizations. Okay, so let's start with, sorry. Okay, let's start with where these assessments are most common. So the largest groups are public administration and governance, construction and manufacturing. This makes more than half of these of our clients for the for the assessments, both certified assessments and diagnostic assessments. Mm. This makes real sense because these sectors often manage large, complex, and very visible to the wider audience, very visible initiatives. They need strong governance, they need strict cost control, but they also need some transparency. For public sector organizations, for example, maturity can help show readiness for investment and confidence in delivery. So, for example, when they apply for some public funding from international organizations and so on. For construction and manufacturing, many initiatives are their core business is project based, and they carry high costs and high risk when performing their projects, programs, and so etc. So this is why they want to assess their maturity. Now, the other thing is that maturity. This is quite, I think, obvious, but the report somehow confirms that largest organizations tend to have higher maturity. This is not, of course, because large organizations are automatically better. Sometimes it's totally the other way around, that smaller are better in how they manage things, but it's because usually they have more complexity, they manage more projects, that they have more teams, they need more standardized approach, more standardized reporting, governance, and so on. As you can see, the biggest gap is in the program management. It's because typically small organizations don't undertake many programs. Some perspectives for improvement. So as we can see, it was kind of surprising for me that we are still below 3. So although we can see many organizations that have standardized approaches, that they have their own management methods, but it shows that across all perspectives, only 2 perspectives, finance management and risk management, achieves average maturity level 3. And the weakest spot is benefits management. So yeah, and I think it is quite aligned with what I can see and experience when talking to organizations, leaders, and so on. Benefits management area is generally new in terms of, so for example, in terms of projects, things such as scope management, schedule management, cost management, and so on, were described very well in 50s of the last century, in the 50s. But benefits management started, I saw first books on how to manage benefits around 20 years ago. So it's relatively new area, and it has been relatively recently that organizations realized that they need some improvement in how they need some guidance on how to manage their benefits, because they have gap between what has been delivered, and what we now how we now benefit from what we delivered. So this is a gap between delivery and benefit or value realization. Some summary of the key findings of this report is that P3M3 is used most in sectors where governance and transparency are very important. It also shows that maturity usually increases with organization size. The biggest gap between small and large organization is program management. The most important improvement areas are benefits and stakeholder management, and risk management for some elements as well. And the message, the final message is simple. P3M3 gives organization an evidence-based benchmark. It helps them understand where they are today, but also how they compare to others, and it helps them decide where to improve next. So what should be the focus in upcoming year, for example. Okay, so now let's look at how P3M3 assessment really works. The process normally starts with scoping the assessment and the expectations. So we decide what we want to assess, whether it's portfolio, program, or project management, or three of them, or any combination of those. Of course, scoping is also about what organizational scope we include in this assessment, whether we only assess one part, one division of the organization, or or the whole organization. So this is scoping, and of course setting expectations, where we want to head to, where we how we want to improve. Then the first part of this of assessment process is document review. So assessors typically ask for standards, frameworks, processes, and then ask for documentation from sample initiatives to check, because all the frameworks can be just defined but not used. So they check based on documentation from sample initiatives that these frameworks are these processes are really followed. They collect evidence for this. After this, so, and this is not very much defined step approach. So each step is after each. So assessors can conduct document review and interviews at the same time, and data synthesis at the same time. But typically we start with some document review, then we move to interviews and workshops to find to validate findings through stakeholder discussions and sometimes surveys. Then we typically bring together all the evidence, and we cross-check this evidence. We cross-check our scores across threats, models, perspectives, and the last step is that assessors present key findings and recommend improvement actions. And this is really what is the purpose of the assessment, to recommend improvement actions, not to only know where we are now, but what we want to do with the gaps we
Then Simon,
have. Yeah.
uh, can we conclude this in 5 minutes? So we have time for Q&A.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Sorry. Okay. So you give me just 5 minutes. Okay. So. Yeah, I think we are there. So assessment report typically it includes some summary, management overview, emphasizes strengths and weaknesses. But as I said, recommending improvements is the key element of it. These are elements of the dashboard our assessment tool produces. So for example, we have for certified assessments, we have certification score, which is calculated by the integer score, the lowest integer score for perspective. So, for example, this was not certified score, but certified assessment, because for certified assessments, all 7 perspectives are mandatory. But it produced a score, overall maturity score, if they want to add stakeholder management and certify themselves and get a certificate, they will have certification 2, even if organization governance, benefits management control is at level 3 really. But it also shows where we are weaker than in the other elements. But also we have threat scores. So for example, we can see that for here, I think these scores are relatively similar to those scores. But for example, we can see that for some thread like assurance, we have a score below 2. So we can easily see that we need to improve our practices across this thread. We can also see such a heat map. Assessors typically add these elements to the reports for their clients, and we can see our maturity against benchmark score. Benchmark is against organizations of similar size and similar sectors. We need to know that performance improvement should be viewed as part of long-term plan. This maturity does not normally improve overnight. It takes time to achieve some level of maturity, but we can also have some short-term gains by quickly identifying weaknesses in our capability and responding to them fast. So, for example, after 1 year, we can move from level 1 to even above level 2. But if we want to achieve level 4, it will take typically 3 4 years, maybe two for some best organizations, but but it takes time. Next thing is the improvement plan, target ambition. What do we want to improve and why? This is what we need to start with. Then business value, describe what benefits, for example, savings, revenue gains are expected from this. Because when we talk to our leaders about improving maturity, we should talk about what results it brings in terms of what money it saves, what tangible benefits it gives us. I will show some examples. Okay. And then we in the improvement roadmap, we discuss what time we need to improve and what budget is available, what are key what capability gaps create the greatest risk, and what we need to respond, and how where we can uh, achieve quick wins to maintain support from senior management. And the third thing is perform. So this is our ultimate goal of performing maturity assessments, because maturity itself is not the final goal. Organization does not improve maturity just to receive a higher score and to brag about this or to reach the next level. The real goal is better delivery performance, and better delivery performance uh, creates greater value. So higher maturity means that the organization has more reliable ways of working. People understand how projects, programs, portfolios should be managed. Leaders receive better information. This improves decision making and control. With better decisions and control, organization can improve PPM performance, so manage delivery more consistently, use resources more effectively, and this is where maturity becomes valuable, because better PPM performance helps organization realize more value from investments in change initiatives. These are some examples, few historical examples, because typically, such things like cost savings can only be assessed after some time. It takes time, sometimes year, to achieve tangible, especially financial benefits. So these are not new examples, not from this period that was included in our report, but a bit older. But these are examples of, so for example, Transport for London organization estimated that they save £1 billion after increasing their maturity from level 1 to nearly level 4. And this is official statement from them. London Underground claimed that they saved 422 million over three years, just moving from level 2 to level 3. And so there are many examples like this, that really is not maturity improvement is not just for being more mature, but it brings us real value. And how it happens? It happens because maturity ensures better governance is in place, so we have clear decisions and accountability. We improve our planning, so we have more realistic schedules, budgets, resources. We improve our risk management, so on. It and these elements, these improvements result in performance benefits such as increased productivity, such as improved quality and less rework. So less costs spent on rework, less duplication of effort. So when having good portfolio management practices, we probably do don't perform two projects at the same time that have similar goals. We can identify such areas of overlap or duplication and save some money. And there are many examples. Improved customer satisfaction, so customers came back to us and see and buy from us and other things and so on. And improved employee morale, which means that we have a staff stability benefit, because when we have better working conditions, less constant firefighting, people will be less likely to feel overloaded and frustrated. This will support better retention, because capable people are more likely to stay in an environment where they can deliver well, learn and see the impact of their work, where they have good working conditions. So this is how maturity goes into performance. Okay, my plan was just to quickly show the Saudi Ministry of Energy case study, but this case study is also downloadable on our website. So if you prefer, we can go to our Q&A session now. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Simon, for that comprehensive walkthrough of P3M3 and how it helps organizations move from isolated project wins and uh, depends on heroic to sustain an organization-wide capability. Before we move to Q&A session, if you don't mind, Bapak Ibu, can we take a simple short photograph first?
Yes.
Okay, maybe can you hang on? Maybe yeah, replace current share. So can you turn off your screen share? Sorry, Simon.
Sorry. Yeah.
Ya, Bapak Ibu
Uh,
silakan bisa nyalakan apa
sorry.
namanya
I can.
videonya lebih dulu,
I'm not
foto-foto
sure
dikit.
how to. Okay, I need to.
Stop share.
Okay, stop share.
Oke,
Share and then did. I'm sorry. I can't see stop
oke,
share
it's okay.
button. Oh yeah.
So let
Okay,
me.
it's here. Okay,
Yeah,
it was just
it was hidden, right?
yeah, by some AI related bar.
Oke, Bapak Ibu yang tidak berkeberatan, silakan nyalakan dulu videonya sebentar untuk kita ambil foto. Oke, satu, dua,
ikut seminar, kita ikut apa,
tiga. Ayo sekali lagi.
masukin aja tuh.
Satu, dua, tiga. Oke. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu semua. Let's continue with the Q&A session. Let me share my screen. So participants already entered the questions, Shimon. So the first question, I think this is so we go to from top to bottom, okay? It's anonymous. Can you provide an example of an organization with level 5 maturity?
I can't think of name now, but there are some. During my service at PeopleServe as a validator of P3M3 assessment, there were a couple of assessments that were certified as level 5, some from Saudi Arabia,
Okay.
because they invest a lot of money now in their excellence in project program portfolio management due to their strategy regions 20,
2030.
2030.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they really invest a lot of effort, a lot of money in
Yeah.
improving their maturity. And really, so this case was also about Saudi Arabian Ministry of Energy, which was level 4, but there were some other organizations that were level 5. And I validated these assessments, and I
Oh,
saw assessors presented to me what processes are in place, how they applied this um, continuous improvement, which is required to level 5. And I was really impressed. I was
okay.
really impressed. I've never seen such things, such good processes before.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah,
Maybe
there are some examples.
maybe you still remember the industry at least?
Public sector,
Public
tax
sector.
tax administration office
Okay.
in one of the biggest cities in I can't remember. Please take a look at the reports. Sorry, not reports. 3 case studies are available now at
Yeah.
prince2official.com. I think one of them or two of them describe organization with maturity level 5. I can't remember now, but I think it was Zakat tax something
Zakat.
office.
Yeah. Zakat.
Yeah, so yeah, but I was validator for these assessments alongside with my colleague from the team, and we were hugely impressed by it.
Excellent. Thank you. So the next question is what is the recommended frequency for the company to assess PM maturity? Is it yearly or every 2 years or maybe
I'd
other
say
time frame?
I'd say as consultants always say it depends, but generally, when we talk about certification assessments, our requirement is that there is surveillance after
Ah,
each year. So this is our people search requirement, and our ACPs, our assessors, need to conduct some surveillance, so some check whether this organization is still at this level, because
mm,
our certifications are valid for 3 years. But so
mm,
I think generally it is good practice to assess um, maturity each year, but sometimes it may be just to check key elements, so not to perform a full
the
maturity
whole complaint.
assessment. And it depends on where you are at the journey. So, for example, if you start with level 1, you want to
Mm,
achieve level 2 in year and a half. It would be good to have an assessment after you feel you achieved level 2, and to provide a basis for improvement planning to achieve the next level. So it depends where we are. Where we are
mm.
relatively mature, or we are satisfied, we are happy with the maturity level we currently have. I think this each 2 years it could be enough.
Okay. Thank you. Uh, Next question is if an organization has a written process and procedures, but not complete or doesn't have a clear standard definition, which level of maturity is this organization?
Okay, so level 3 defined, it is called defined, but it's defined and deployed really. It's defined and
Mm.
used. This will be level 1 or level 2 possibly. But
Okay.
sometimes, one more thing. Sometimes organizations even don't have level 1, because level 1 also requires something. So recently I had this situation that one organization has been assessed, and the maturity score, certification maturity score, was 0, because for some,
Oh.
but it was very honest approach of them. They wanted to really know where they are without sugarcoating it and anything like this. They just wanted to be completely sure where they are. So this would be level 1 or level 2. Level 2, if this written process procedure alongside roles and responsibilities and many other elements, please look back at the threads we have, especially those mandatory for certified assessments. So organization, information and knowledge, processes and standards, these are 4 mandatory threads for certified assessment. So we need to look at this. At level 2, they should be at least locally deployed, these standards. At least some parts of these organizations should follow them. Because when everybody follows them, it's level 3. When some parts of this organization, there are islands of good practice in organization, so packets of good practice, we can say that this is level 2. It's level 2. They have something. It's repeatable, but it's not consistently used. So level 2 or level 1 if it's just on paper and nobody uses this.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on. What is the average maturity level of all projects around the world, or at least in Asia?
So we saw this benchmarking data. So average maturity level is around 2.5, something like this. But this is from our benchmarking data. But there are two things we are not sure. My opinion is that the average is around 2. This is based on my knowledge of, because some organizations don't decide to manage to measure their maturity, and we don't have a full landscape of organizations. But also some organizations really don't need maturity assessments and so on. So I think generally we are somewhere in between 2 and 3. I rarely see organizations that they have nothing, that have nothing. Typical situation I can see in organizations. I used to be a consultant organization, improving in organizations, for organizations, client organization, improving processes. And in each organization, I saw that they have something defined. Better or worse, but some processes for project management, especially for project management, that they were defined. But the problem was with the application, the use of these procedures, or sometimes they were really weak. They didn't follow best practice like PRINCE2 or PMI, but they had something developed on their own, and that it was not. So this was grounded in a legacy of organization, but it was far from best practice. So I would say level 2.
Level 2. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. I think I skipped one question, but I think the question that I skipped is about what's the lowest level, which is level 1, and then what's the highest level is level 5. But I think
we can, as I said, we
have
can
level
be
0 as well.
Also below 1.
So just to emphasize again, that besides level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5 that is being explained by Shimons, but practically there's also level 0 where organizations doesn't meet the criteria of level 1. Is that correct, Shimon? Right?
There are, as I saw. As we saw on the diagram with this example for program management perspective and model and risk management perspective, even level 1 has some requirements to fulfill to say that this organization is at level 1. So when we start with 0, we have level 0. Okay, I will gladly answer the question about PMBOK guide. Okay, so about scope, schedule, and quality. The problem is that this is a slightly different approach. So these elements that are not explicitly shown in the tool. But for example, planning for scope will be covered by planning thread in management control perspective, in organizational governance perspectives, and so on. Same with schedule and so they are not very much visible there, but these elements are assessed, but not directly. But when you assess planning, for example, planning thread, when you assess assurance thread, you also make sure that you include this. And for quality, requirements is covered by benefits management practice as well. Because finally, benefits arise from fulfilling quality expectations and requirements, right?
Right. So I think it's also important to highlight as well that P3M3 doesn't just work with Prince2. So organization who use PMBOK or any other methodologies or any other reference for their project management practices are still valid to use P3M3. Is that correct, Shivan?
Yeah, exactly. So you will not receive scores for scope, schedule, or quality separately, but you will see where you have the gaps in the perspectives and threads we have. So you will see if you fail to appropriately plan scope or schedule, you will see this in the result of threads such as information and knowledge management, planning, assurance, and so on.
Yeah. Okay. So Pak Firman, you're raising your hand, so maybe go ahead, Pak. Open your mic.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Akbar. Hi, Pak Simon and Firman. Okay, I think the question will be out of the box, yeah, but hopefully it is also can give you an idea how to bring up this maturity measurement assessment to become a very high mandatory pre-requirement for every industry who would like to pursue another opportunity in another client. What is the people strategy to make this maturity assessment becoming as a mandatory requirement for every industry willing to get a project from the client? Let's say like in Indonesia, the most pre-requirement for the industry to join the project is the project manager must be a PMP or Prince2 and etc. So is it possible for you guys to have such campaigns, a strategic campaign towards all the maturity assessment methodology or etc., then bring all the industry to put the maturity assessment scoring as a high level mandatory. It is a must because somehow maturity can bring also our life easier. The project manager will life so easy because the maturity is higher and the client will also can sleep well because the project is run by the organization that have higher maturity score or level. So what is the people's strategy to campaign such this requirement to become highly mandatory to all the industry? So the pressure will not only coming for internal, so the pressure will also come for the external stakeholder like our client. So what is your strategy for that? Thank you, Simon.
Okay, thank you very much for this question. We do our best to promote P3M3. We cannot make it mandatory because we don't have government power, right? But we talk to governments. We see some best practice for example, in Canadian, I think government some time ago required all the companies that take part in bids for public funded projects needed to use some maturity model and show their maturity at level. I'm not sure they defined it 5 or 3, but the same thing was in one of Australians one country parts of Australia. They call it land, right? The one land in Australia, at least one, I think. But it was also the case. So yeah, you need to know that PeopleCert acquired Axelos and all this intellectual property, including this P3M3 model. It was 3-4 years ago. So we are only starting now. We are really only and so the first effort was put into updating our core products like Prince2 project management method, ITIL. Now we have a new version of ITIL, but also now the effort is going into other elements like maturity model. So we have extensive talks to government agencies and so on to somehow emphasize why it's important, why it's beneficial for them to apply to use these maturity models or to require their suppliers to be mature at level this and that. Yeah, so I like your question very much. This is exactly what we need to do, and this is exactly where we are going. So please believe me, we are doing our best now to promote the maturity. This is why I'm here for this webinar. This is why we put a lot of effort to prepare new case studies, benchmarking report, and so on. So yeah, we put a lot of effort into this.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. I give you my praise. Since the PMI, maturity process methodology, has already exalted, it is never exist, yeah, Pak Akbar, correct me if I'm wrong. So hopefully PeopleCert don't do the same things like PMI did. So I do hope that PeopleCert can do many campaign or aggressive socialization about this maturity, so the client can push the company, because as you mentioned that most of the industry doesn't like to have such kind of maturity assessment, because it's so costly to them, because somehow we provide them the statistic, also the result, the fact that a lot of organizations have improved their benefit, their value, while having a higher maturity. But somehow, yeah, like I have ever said to Pak Akbar, somehow we did our own self maturity assessment instead of inviting others into our company to assess our maturity, because the one who know our maturity is our own self. So somehow that principle of mine, that mindset is still there. So hopefully PeopleCert can exist, can maintain this initiative for the maturity assessment measurement methodology. We Indonesia 100% fully support to you guys. So hopefully it's not like the PMI who the maturity, which the maturity methodology is already gone, which is I am expecting the PMI can also exist, so they can compete, not compete, yeah. So both of you can complement to each other. Thank you, Simon, for your feedback. Highly appreciated. Thank you, Pak Akbar.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Pak.
I fully
I
agree.
think we have,
Yeah.
thank you very much. So I think we have time for one more questions. Which question do you think you wanna? So we have this one. Evidence between level 4 and level 5. How does P3M3 bridge project delivery and strategic business value?
Okay, I can answer the latest question because I like it very much. Did you have experience on how to measure the impact of maturity? Should we visit the client and so? Yeah, so this is extremely important, but also very difficult. When working as a consultant for we didn't use P3M3 maturity model at those times, but we assessed their project management excellence, maturity, capability, and we help them develop new project management method. We help them establish PMO and so on. And after we clearly defined what are the benefits they should achieve, what cost reductions, what benefits in terms of timely delivery and what increase in benefits realization. This was so the key thing is that this link between maturity and benefits is not objective. We are not able to objectively prove it that these cost savings are, or we spent less on project planning now that we did 2 years ago, because I saw this situation because we have some people that were not really happy with our project of improving their project management, and they said, no, this is not because you have better method for project management. It is because now we have simpler projects, and the situation is changing constantly, so you will never have a clear link from maturity to results. But the link is obvious. The link is obvious. So if you define 7 up to 10 or even more metrics, and they consistently improve over time, nobody will say, no, it's not because you're better at managing projects. Okay? So this is not about having one key metric, and because when you have one metric, somebody will find a way to somehow say that this metric does not show anything. But if you have a bunch of metrics and across all of them you can see improvement, it's really a proof that better that higher maturity resulted in better performance. Yeah, so I think this is it.
Okay. Okay. Shimon, thank you very much. I think that's the last questions there. Thank you very much once again for your such rich and practical sessions. It's not every day we get to hear directly from someone who helps shape the PRINCE2 and P3M3 framework globally. We truly appreciate your time and insights, Shimon. To our audience, thank you all for joining the MQM Insights 17. If you enjoyed today's session, we really appreciate if you could leave us a Google review on the link given. And also, if you submit the Google review, please also make sure you fill out the attendance form to get your free PDUs and your training vouchers as well. Thank you once again, Simon, and
Thank you
to
very
all
much.
the audience.
It was
Hope to see you again.
Real pleasure to have this opportunity to have this conversation with you. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you for your invitation. It was a pleasure.
Oke, thank you once again, Simon. Terima kasih banyak Bapak Ibu. Sampai jumpa lagi. Mohon maaf jika ada salah-salah kata. Dengan itu kami tutup. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Mak Nagi.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.